Welcome to the Complete Travel Guide to Fiji by FijiPocketGuide.com. Peppering the tropical waters of the southern Pacific Ocean, Fiji is an island nation that's diverse, cultural and beautiful. Each of the 333 islands tells a unique story, whether it has made its mark via a rugged volcanic island or a simple sand cay surrounded by azure waters. Between the islands, shallow coral reefs decorate the ocean with diverse marine life, making Fiji a divers, snorkelers and anglers' paradise. But Fiji certainly isn't all about coral reefs and sandy beaches. Some of the larger islands have a rugged interior, typically awash in a mix of plantations and verdant jungles dotted with remote Fijian villages and dramatic river formations, leading to more waterfalls than you can count. That's Fiji in a nutshell, but if you're planning a trip to the islands, you'll want to take a deep dive into Fiji Pocket Guide, where this complete guide to Fiji is the ideal place to start. Let's start with an intro to Fiji. Fiji is located in the South Pacific in the continent of Oceania. Fiji sits in the center of Tonga, Wallis and Futuna, Vanuatu and New Caledonia and is about 2/3 of the way between Hawaii and New Zealand. The land size is about 18,274 kilometers squared, that's 7,056 square miles. And the daily average temperature is around 25.5 degrees Celsius or 77.9 degrees Fahrenheit. And the average rainfall is between 1,826 millimeters and 3,065 millimeters per year. The time zone in Fiji is FJT, otherwise known as GMT plus 12 or plus 13 depending on daylight savings. The population is approximately 896,500 and the official languages are English, Fijian, and you can learn more about the languages at What is the Fiji Language on Fiji Pocket Guide. Next, what is the best way to get to Fiji? Fiji can be accessed by flight, cruise ship or private sailing yachts. The most popular way to get to Fiji is by international flight, so let's start with that. Direct international flights come from Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, Nauru, Samoa, the Solomon Islands, Tonga, Kiribati, Tuvalu, Wallis and Futuna, the US and South Korea. If you are coming from further afield, then you will need to make a connecting flight, most likely in Australia, New Zealand, South Korea or Hawaii. See how long does it take to fly to Fiji for more information on Fiji Pocket Guide. Although Fiji has 2 international airports, around 97% of visitors to Fiji come through Nadi International Airport on the island of Viti Levu, which is Fiji's main island. Now let's talk about cruises to Fiji. Fiji is on the itinerary of several South Pacific cruises from Australia, New Zealand and French Polynesia. There are 5 ports of call in Fiji, the main ones being Suva, Lautoka and Port Denarau. Find out more about the cruise itineraries at the Guide to Taking a Cruise to Fiji on Fiji Pocket Guide. And for you sailing to Fiji, Fiji is conveniently located at the center of the Trans-Pacific journey between the US and New Zealand. The yachting season is between May and October, and you can learn more about the sailing formalities in our Sailing Guide to Fiji on Fiji Pocket Guide. Now just a note on customs declarations. Fiji has strict biosecurity measures at the border to stop unwanted pests and diseases from entering the country. Therefore, anyone arriving in Fiji has to declare any risk items they have packed in their luggage, even common items like food and sports gear. check out our complete guide on how to get to Fiji for even more tips on making your way to the islands of Fiji. So when is the best time to visit Fiji? Fiji is a tropical country and experiences warm temperatures throughout the year. It has two distinct seasons, a dry season, which is drier and cooler, and a wet season, which is hotter and more humid. The dry season is also known as the winter season in Fiji, although many would not describe it as the winter, with temperatures around 19 to 29 degrees Celsius or 66 to 84 degrees Fahrenheit. The rainfall per month is an average of 70 to 150 millimeters, otherwise 2.8 to 6 inches. The dry season is also the time for swimming with manta rays, surfing big waves, clearer scuba diving conditions, and catching sailfish, skipjack tuna, and wahoo. The wet season is hotter and more humid, with temperatures around 22 to 33 degrees Celsius, also known as 72 to 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and an average monthly rainfall of 180 to 310 millimeters, or 2.8 to 6 inches. This is also Fiji's cyclone season, which means there's a risk of cyclones, but only a risk, which you can learn more about in our How to Prepare for a Cyclone in Fiji on Fiji Pocket Guide. The wet season is also the best time for catching marlin, yellowfin tuna, and mahi-mahi, as well as avoiding other tourists. Still can't decide when the best time is to travel to Fiji? Check out our complete guide, The Best Time to Visit Fiji, which dives much deeper into the subject. By the way, all of the links that I'm mentioning can be found in the description of this video. Now let's move on to what to pack for Fiji. The main thing you need to keep in mind when packing for Fiji is having a tropical wardrobe that includes some more modest items of clothing for visiting Fijian villages. A packing list for Fiji might look a little something like this. Shorts/skirts or dresses, something below the knee for village visits. Singlets/t-shirts. Light shirts/t-shirts to cover shoulders for village visits. Light cotton shirts to cover arms for sun protection, a sarong, otherwise known as a Zulu, to cover your legs on village visits, some light sleepwear, a light jacket, cardigan or pashmina for those cooler evenings, an outfit for smart/casual dress code restaurants at luxury resorts, of course some underwear, bikini or board shorts, a one-piece swimsuit for water sports or village visits, a rash vest, sun hats, sunglasses, a light rain jacket, flip-flops, walking shoes and sandals. And that's just the clothes. We have a full packing list over on the website. Let's move on to health products. Although the water in towns is generally safe to drink, there is questionable drinking water in Fiji also has a fragile marine ecosystem, so natural sunscreens and mosquito repellents are a must, while water purification bottles or tablets are preferable to buying bottled water for obvious environmental reasons. See our Health Essentials packing list over on our website. And now let's talk about the Fiji currency. The currency in Fiji is Fijian dollars, and while credit or debit cards are accepted in major resorts and businesses in Fiji's towns, you should have cash available for taxis and visit villages. For more information, head to the website. Let's move on to how long to visit Fiji for. Admittedly, Fiji makes an idyllic getaway for just staying in the same resort for a few days to a week. And that's fine, we all need some R&R from time to time. More intrepid travellers, however, will find that Fiji is an excellent country, not only for island hopping, but for road tripping around Viti Levu. For those of you who want to explore, here's what you can achieve in certain time frames. And don't worry, we'll get onto the destinations in the next section. 3 days or a long weekend in Fiji. Over a long weekend, you have enough time to explore Nadi, Denarau and the Coral Coast, or perhaps take a quick trip to the Mamanuca and Yasawa Islands. For 5 days in Fiji, it's enough time for a quick island hopping itinerary in the Mamanuca and Yasawa Islands, or check out Fiji's landscape of resorts and adventure activities along the Coral Coast and Pacific Harbour. Alternatively, those with more budget could take a charter flight to between Vanuatu and Taveuni. A week in Fiji gives you time to relax in any one of the island groups, but for those who want to move around, you could take a road trip around Viti Levu or do some island hopping in the Mamanuca and Yasawa Islands. Alternatively, you could explore between the two lesser visited islands of Vanuatu and Taveuni. 14 days allows you to extend itineraries suggested for a week. It will also give you the time to explore a mix of Viti Levu and the Mamanuca or Yasawa Islands, or Viti Levu, Vanuatu and Taveuni, or a week in Kadavu and a week in Viti Levu. We have itineraries for all those time frames on FijiPocketGuide.com. So let's start talking about destinations, beginning with Viti Levu. Hardly anyone visits Fiji without spending some time in Viti Levu. Home to the main international airport, Viti Levu might be an obligatory place to visit, but at 10,389 square kilometers, Viti Levu is Fiji's largest and most diverse island. Fiji's main island is split into several exciting destinations, each with its own unique landscapes, attractions and charm. Nadi is the main arrival city in Fiji, but is much more with an array of attractions to enjoy. From hot springs to bustling produce and handicraft markets, Nadi provides a number of ways to immerse in the diverse cultures and landscapes of Fiji. Although just a 10-minute drive from the town of Nadi, Denarau is a stark contrast to Nadi's dusty streets and hustle and bustle. Denarau is a man-made island connected to Nadi by a causeway and polished to perfection with 5-star resorts, a golf course, a shopping centre and a marina. Next up is the Coral Coast. Viti Levu's southern coast is a hotspot for beach resort holidays as well as inland adventures should you want to go chasing waterfalls or take a jet boat ride up the Singatoka River. Situated between the Coral Coast and Suva, the Pacific Harbour and the offshore island of Benga are where most of Fiji's adventure activities can be found. Think whitewater rafting, shark diving, jet boating, river tubing, jet skiing and much more. Moving on to Suva, Fiji's capital sits on the harbour sides of Viti Levu's southern east coast. The colonial-style buildings offer a different landscape in Fiji, while the Kola Isuva Forest Park reminds visitors that nature is never too far away. Finally on Viti Levu is the Sun Coast. The northern side of Viti Levu is the island's least visited side, but that by no means means that there are no resorts, luxury villas or budget cottages to base yourself for the inland hiking, fly water scuba diving or simply relaxing in Viti Levu's sunniest region. We're now leaving Viti Levu to go to the Mamanuca Islands. A scattering of some 20 islands in the glittering South Pacific waters feels a world away, yet are conveniently close to Nadi International Airport. A 10-minute helicopter ride or a 30-minute ferry can have you on the idyllic Mamanuca Islands, most of which are just a single resort where you can soak in the sun, feel the sand between your toes and snorkel in the reefs circling the islands. Each island has its own unique vibe, largely due to the diverse island resorts, ranging from fun-filled family resorts to exclusive adults-only retreats to budget surf or dive resorts. Some of the islands are open to day trippers, while others are exclusively for guests. The Mamanuca Islands has just about every type of island activity available in Fiji. But some of the more unique features include the Cloud9 floating pizza bar and some of the best surf breaks in the South Pacific, including the famed Cloud Break. Let's move on to the Yasawa Islands. The string of volcanic Yasawa Islands is often what many envision of the Fiji holiday. Secluded islands with sweeping beaches, turquoise lagoons, and remote villages of Fijian communities. The group of around 20 islands sits off the northwestern coast of Viti Levu, just north of the Mamanuca Islands. Getting there requires a slightly longer mission, either from Nadi or in a 30-minute helicopter or between 2 to 4 hours by ferry. The Yasawa Islands has been known as the backpacker hub of Fiji for many years thanks to its array of budget resorts, but more and more luxury boutique resorts have developed on the islands in recent years. In terms of experiences, scuba diving, fishing, cultural activities are all on the menu, as they are across most of Fiji. However, more unique offerings include trips to the Sawa'ilau caves and snorkeling with manta rays between May and October. Our next island is Vanua Levu. Vanua Levu might be Fiji's second largest island and a dot on the Fiji map you can hardly avoid, but the truth of the matter is that only around 2% of visitors travel to the island. That means that tranquility and unspoiled land and seascapes are easy to find in Vanua Levu, which is home to a variety of accommodations from luxury boutique resorts to budget holiday homes. The island might have its fair share of copra and sugarcane plantations, but jungle landscapes are never too far away, where many of Vanua Levu's resorts can be found nestled among them, often with a waterfall or two. Beaches are also never too hard to find, but more water exploration can be enjoyed among the coral reefs, where Vanua Levu has some of the most renowned dive sites between the Namena Marine Reserve and the Great Sea Reef and Rainbow Reef. You don't have to feel too far from civilization either on Vanua Levu, which has two major but small towns, Savu Savu and Labasa, as well as plenty of quaint Fijian villages. Moving on to Taveuni. Sitting off the southeastern tip of Vanua Levu, across the Somo Strait, is the island of Taveuni, also known as the Garden Island. Around 80% of the island is made up of the Buma National Heritage Park, a volcanic formation carpeted in a tropical jungle where small Fijian villages are guardians to its attractions, from the towering Buma Falls to the coastal journey of the Lavena Coastal Walk. Needless to say, Taveuni is an island for the active traveller. Aside from seeing verdant forests and authentic villages, Taveuni also makes a great base for scuba diving at the Rainbow Reef or snorkeling in the Waitabu Marine Reserve. Pearl farms, beaches and general island time are other ways to enjoy the island. While there are a spectacular range of resorts, lodges and private villas on the island to suit most travellers, it's also worth researching the surrounding islands of Kamea, Lokola and Matangi with their spa resorts, surf resorts and even a private island 7-star resort. Moving on to the Lomai Viti Islands. Delve into Fiji's characterful history in the Lomai Viti Islands, home to Fiji's first capital, Levuka, which is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The small town on the islands of Auvalu is preserved with colonial buildings, while surrounding islands provide an alternative island holiday experience, much less visited than in the Mamanuca and Yasawa Islands. The Lomaiviti Islands are located off the eastern shores of Viti Levu, taking only 10 minutes to fly from Suva's airport, or around 4 to 5 hours on one of the cargo ferries. Each island has its story, from the historic Ovalu to the luxury private island of Wakaya to the turtle sanctuary of Mokogai. Between the islands, the diversity in marine life is astonishing thanks to several established marine reserves where it's possible to dive with giant clams, turtles and sharks. Moving on to Kandavu. Kandavu is a large island in the southern regions of Fiji, accessible via 1-hour flight from Nadi or a lengthy cargo ferry trip from Suva. Either way, the journey is worth the effort to see the side of Fiji that stands still in time. The 75 villages of the island are all on the coast, where boat transport is just about the only way to get around, as hardly any roads venture into the thick jungle. Resorts here are all about experiencing life off the grid, being self-sustainable by growing their own crops and working in harmony with the local fishermen. Needless to say, a stay in Kandavu provides a real slice of island life. That's not to say that there isn't much else to do than get the Robinson Crusoe experience, as the world's 4th largest barrier reef curves around the island for some epic scuba diving, manta ray snorkeling and even surfing. Finally, the Lau Islands. Only a minuscule number of tourists visit the sparse scattering of around 60 islands that make up the Lau Islands, but they are definitely still worth mentioning for the Fiji enthusiast. Almost the entire east side of Fiji is the Lau Islands, where many of the islands are closer to Tonga than they are to Viti Levu. With that, the cultures here are unique and unchanged for centuries, where some islanders have traditions from both the Fijian and Tongan cultures. Visiting the islands of their people requires either one of the weekly flights to Vanua Balavu or Sikia, a multi-day island-hopping cargo voyage from Suva, or one of the few Lau Islands cruises with Captain Cook Cruises each year. Alternatively, you can take a charter flight to the island group's only resort, Vatavara Private Islands. And we do have full guides on all those destinations at FijiPocketGuide.com. And now let's move on to how to get around Fiji. Yes, after seeing the number of island groups in Fiji, let alone the different islands and some of the larger islands to explore, you're probably wondering, how do I get around all of these islands? Transport differs between island groups. More touristic islands, such as the Mamanuthas and Yasawas, are well serviced with ferries, seaplanes and water taxis, while the lesser visited islands may only have transport that is provided by your chosen resort. The main ways to get around Fiji include domestic flights. There are 2 scheduled domestic carriers in Fiji, both offering regular flights between Fiji's most populated islands. Charter flights. Charter flights via fixed-wing, seaplane and helicopter aircraft are available in Fiji to take passengers between Fiji's island groups, particularly Viti Levu and the Mamanuthas, Yasawas, Vanua Levu, Tavauni and Kandavu. Ferries. High-speed catamaran ferries service the Mamanutha and Yasawa Islands from Port Denarau in Viti Levu, while the slower passenger, vehicle and cargo ferries run from Suva in Viti Levu to the Lomaiviti Islands, Vanua Levu, Tavauni and Kandavu. Car rental. Rental cars are available in Viti Levu and Vanua. Public buses and express buses. Public buses are the cheapest type of transport available in Fiji. They are available in Viti Levu, Vanua Levu, Tavauni. Taxis. Taxis in Fiji can be identified by their taxi signs and the LT at the beginning of the registration plate. They offer affordable metered fares within towns, while fares for sightseeing or going between towns can be negotiated. There are a lot more ways to travel around Fiji, so be sure to browse our Fiji Transport Guide on Fiji Pocket Guide. Now let's talk about the accommodation in Fiji. First and foremost, Fiji is a country of resorts. In most cases, resorts handle everything: accommodation, entertainment, tours, and sometimes even transport. For these reasons, one of the most important decisions you can make for your trip to Fiji is where you are going to stay. That's not to say that Fiji solely has resorts. If that's not your style, then you have lodges, hotels, homestays, holiday homes, villas, and even small ship cruises to choose from. First, let's talk about resorts. The most abundant accommodation type in Fiji, resorts are typically complexes with hotel-style rooms or freestanding bure, otherwise known as bungalows, and facilities such as a restaurant and swimming pool. Many resorts across Fiji, especially on remote islands, offer an entertainment schedule, as well as optional paid tours such as scuba diving, fishing, massages, and more. Note that there are also adults-only resorts in Fiji, as well as family-friendly resorts with kids clubs. Moving on to hotels. International-style hotels can be found in Fiji's largest towns, such as Nadi, Suva, and Lautoka. The rest of Fiji's hotels are typically budget hotels found across Fiji's smaller towns of Viti Levu and Vanuatu. Holiday homes and villas. For a more intimate style of accommodation in Fiji, choose a holiday home or villa. Note that these are some of the very few self-catering accommodations available in Fiji, and can usually only be found on Fiji's larger islands like Viti Levu, Vanuatu, and Tavauni. Now let's talk about homestays. Becoming more and more abundant in Fiji with the popularity of booking websites like Airbnb, Booking.com, and Expedia, homestays are where locals open up their spare room to visitors. With many homestays available in Fijian villages, this can be a truly authentic way to experience the Fijian culture. Note, however, that this is not an appropriate accommodation choice for travelers who like their luxuries and modern comforts. Our final accommodation is small ship cruises. Fiji has 2 small ship cruises sailing primarily to the Mamanuca and Yasawa Islands, and less frequent sailings to other island groups throughout the year. Each offer cabin accommodation along with the opportunity to visit different islands, free and optional paid activities, and meals. You can learn about this accommodation as well as all the accommodations we've talked about over at FijiPocketGuide.com. Moving on to the things to do in Fiji. Contrary to popular belief, there's more to do in Fiji than drink cocktails and sit by the pool. Fiji exceeds at adventure, relaxation, and culture. There's so much to do that we could hardly fit it into our 101 things to do in Fiji, listed on Fiji Pocket Guide, so make sure you check that out. The thing to remember is that resorts offer most of the activities in Fiji, especially those in the outer islands. The sort of activities available at resorts include scuba diving, snorkeling, swimming with sharks or manta rays, spa treatments, Fijian village visits, Fijian cultural dancing known as a meke, Fijian crafting lessons, cooking classes, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, parasailing, fishing, walking and hiking, and surfing. That's not to say that there are no exciting experiences outside of the resorts, especially on the islands of Viti Levu and Vanuatu. There are independent tours and activities to try. For instance, jet boat tours, whitewater rafting, skydiving, quad biking or off-roading, sightseeing tours, and plenty of golf courses. Be sure to check out the full list of all of those activities and more over on Fiji Pocket Guide. Let's talk about the food and dining options in Fiji. From the menus of the restaurants in Fiji's major towns to the resort restaurants, a wide range of international cuisine is represented in Fiji. Fijian foods are also easy enough to come by, especially on resort menus, while Indo-Fijian cuisine is best sampled at town curry houses. There are no major health concerns to be worried about when it comes to food in Fiji. Resort restaurants have high standards. However, one should be a little wary when it comes to street food. It's best to try food that is cooked and to avoid drinking tap water or treated if you're unsure of the quality. Self-catering is rarely available in Fiji, only in villas, holiday homes and apartments. So see our guide to food shopping on Fiji Pocket Guide to learn about purchasing groceries. Vegetarian options are widely available in Fiji, but those with other dietary requirements should contact their resorts prior to arrival. Although most resorts can cater to just about any dietary needs, they just need to have a little bit of notice in order to prepare. We have a complete food guide to Fiji available on the website. Now, let's talk about budget and answer the question, is Fiji expensive? We all travel very differently, therefore making a precise budget for everyone is a quite frankly impossible task. Nevertheless, you can work out your own needs, thus budget, by simply looking at the typical prices I'm about to list for you. All of the prices I'm going to list are going to be in Fijian dollars, just so we all have a common currency to go by. Starting with accommodation, a dorm bed per night is around 25 to 100 Fijian dollars. A homestay private room per night will be about 30 to 100. A budget double private ensuite room per night will be between 86 to 200. A mid-range double private ensuite room per night will be between 150 to 250. A luxury double private ensuite room per night will be around 250 Fijian dollars at a minimum. So plus, usually a bit more expensive. And finally, family rooms per night are between 140 to 1,000 Fijian dollars. Now let's talk food. Indian and Chinese restaurant mains are between $6 to $15. Restaurant mains are between 20 to 30 Fijian dollars. Restaurant breakfast meals between 6 and 15. Resort breakfasts are usually included. Resort lunch meals are between 16 to 25. Resort main meals are between 25 to 70. Resort meal plans per day can be anywhere between 58 to 250 Fijian dollars. A bottle of water is between $1.60 to $4. A bottle of wine is between 15 and 30. And a pint of beer can be between 4 to 8 Fijian dollars. Oh, and before I forget, cocktails are between 10 to 30 Fijian dollars. Next up, tours and activities. For a day cruise, this could be between 150 to 250 Fijian dollars. Swimming with sharks is between 200 and 250. A shared half-day fishing charter is between 360 and 500. A snorkeling tour is between 70 to 120 Fijian dollars. A 2-tank scuba dive is between 280 to 320. River tubing is around 190 Fijian dollars. Cultural night tours are around 160. Beach horse riding is around 190. A half-day zipline tour with transfers included is usually around 250 safari is around 280, skydiving around 850 Fijian dollars. The Kula Eco Park admission is around 50 Fijian dollars. And for a 45 minutes helicopter scenic flight, that's around 580 Fijian dollars. And finally, for activities, a massage is between 80 to 190 Fijian dollars. Let's wrap up our cost breakdown with transportation. So ferries to the Mamanuca or Yasawa Islands, just one way, costs around 80 to 135 Fijian dollars. Water taxis to the Mamanuca or Yasawa Islands, again one way, between 575 to 9,618 Fijian dollars. Cargo ferries to the other outer islands, one way, is between 25 and 68 Fijian dollars. Flights to the outer islands, one way, is between 92 and 600. Public buses are between 1 Fijian dollar and 5 Fijian dollars. Express buses, for example, between Nadi and Suva, will cost you between 20 to 30 Fijian dollars. Multi-day tours by bus will be around 780 Fijian dollars. A private resort transfer between 50 and 200 Fijian dollars, depending on where you're staying. Car rental per day is usually around 180. And a private taxi driver per day is usually around 150 Fijian dollars. And finally, before I forget, the taxis for about a 20-minute journey is about 30 Fijian dollars. So thank you for bearing in the wind for this complete guide to Fiji. And if I haven't mentioned it enough, there's plenty more information on FijiPocketGuides.com. So make sure to check it out. And the whole team is joining me in wishing you an amazing time in Fiji.
Laura, bye-bye.